calls, sending me X's and O's, sending me mixed signals. Got me against the wall, can't be fully involved. I don't got the time to fall, and she don't got no time to call. I think that our time is off, but I think that the vibe is off.
In L.A., big party. I'm a bachelor, man. I'm looking at all these fine movie stars and soap opera stars, and they look good, man. You know, I like to dance. I was dancing with them, and then I hooked up with this one chick. We kind of wound up dating.
Mm-hmm.
So she excused herself to go to the ladies' room. She comes back. She says, "Do you know that dude over there, the tall guy in the gray suit?" I said, "Yeah, he's the CEO. Name was Larry Little. Big Ticket Television. That's who got me for the first year. All right."
Mm-hmm.
He said he walked up to me and offered me $2,000 in cash if I would sign something he had written up that you were trying to feel on me. I said, what? So we went around and found all the other women that I had danced with that we could find. And she got statements saying that he had made the approach to her to do the same thing, offering them cash if they would say I was doing something inappropriate. They wouldn't. I guess I made a good impression. I guess I was fine to them back in those days, you know. And what I used to be. Not as good as I used to be, but most of the time I'm better than I ever was. But anyway, that's what I'm talking about. You understand that when you get old. But anyhow, what wound up happening is they were embezzling money. This clown embezzled $25 million from the show, so he was trying to make it go away. That's like Mel Brooks's The Producers. The theme was, as if the show flopped, you could steal more money than you could make if it was a hit. Mm-hmm. So I hired this woman for PR, paid her $250,000 to go deal with it. She saved it. We saved it by doing our own PR, and we set a trap for her. Mm-hmm. What the trap was is she and I invented a fictional woman. We filled out affidavits, had them notarized in front of a notary, sealed it, took the sealed copy and filed it with Human Resources. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We kept doing this as the plot thickened. So the storyline simplified was that she went and talked to this clown's wife and somebody else's wife and told them that this woman was complaining that I was being inappropriate to her. Mm-hmm. Well, I got called over to a meeting with the CEO of then Paramount, a guy named Gary McCluggage, an idiot. And they present me with this complaint signed by this fictional woman. So I started laughing. I had my agent walk outside. So I had them bring the box over from Human Resources, and I brought my PR person in there. And Lord, she was fine. She was Miss Washington, D.C. one time. First runner-up for Miss America. God damn, she was fine. Anyway, so when they opened this shit up, we started smiling, and they started getting that turned real red, looking like, oh, shit. So they weren't there 6 weeks later, but I was for 13 and a half more years. Mm-hmm. I mean, and it's really crazy stuff that they did. I mean, you have no idea how crazy that shit got.
Now you scared me.
I grew up in Los Angeles, so I had all these sources.
Yeah.
So they thought I was ignorant. See, there's one thing about California. It'll open your eyes. Now, in the South, they're used to having slaves and black folk do stuff for them. So they'll acknowledge that you can use your head or you have skills they don't have. California, I never met a white boy in California who would admit there was anything that he couldn't do better than you, even play basketball or football. Doesn't make any difference. So they would continuously try to underrate what they got. So I would just use my sources and I'd keep jacking them up. Like, okay, fuck you, I quit. And then get up on their long conference table at Paramount, try to scuff the hell out of it with some cowboy boots. and say, now, motherfuckers, let me take this seat right here. That little cute little girl out there, she's got on a green skirt. You brought her in here, flipped her up, and you all fucked her, and all of you married. But there's some checks I have certified copies of here. Don't ask how I got it. You can think about it. But here, you want to check it? I have copies. And you signed these checks to pay her off. And then, they were stealing Paramount equipment and renting it back to Paramount. They were hooked up with Heidi Fleiss's whole house off of Hollywood Boulevard, and all kinds of crazy crap. So date rape and paying off pedophile nonsense, So I had it all.
Wow.
Won't tell you how I got it. I'll tell you in person, but I'm not going to say it on the air. But anyway, fuck you. And they had to leave, and I was still there. So Paramount had too many nepotistic situations where somebody was screwing somebody's husband, and they were somebody's husband, or scissoring with somebody's wife, and they were somebody's wife. Oh, man. And Viacom switched it all over to CBS. Now, they put me in a special unit with Judge Judy, Oprah Winfrey, and Dr. Phil. Roger King, who had discovered Phil and Oprah. Oprah didn't discover Phil. Roger King did. Roger King ran King World because his daddy invented syndication and set it up. All the old black and white movies and cartoons they used to have on TV back when. Well, you're too young for that, but back in my era, his daddy set that up. And he was a football player, big white guy, good guy. And he didn't play that Hollywood shit, but he was so successful that they had to deal with him. So he came to me and said, I don't know what the hell they're trying to do with you. Do you know where you are ratings-wise? I said, I have an idea. He said, do you know, Nielsen informed me that there are more people in this country that watch you on a 10-day basis than any other show on TV outside of pro basketball, football, baseball, or something like that.
Yeah, I know I watch.
Well, yeah. So anyway, what happened is the last 3 years, I was beating Oprah every week in the ratings, slaughtering Phil, and was stepping on Judy's heels for the #1 syndicated show in America. But what they did is Judy, little 4'6" munchkin Jewish girl who liked the badmouth men, they weren't going to let some black man be the #1 TV show. So they kept changing her rating schedule so she'd stay ahead. That being the case, they never let that be known. They refused. I mean, it was so bad that in the second largest TV market in America, LA, they didn't even list me in the TV guide. And the biggest question was, are you still on? How do we find you? That's how bad it was. See, it's not just about money. It's about their agenda. Let's take Ellen DeGeneres. All that shit they said about it, that's true. See, and they cancel the show. They've canceled every show she's ever had. Before. Not one of them has ever made it out of one season. Some seasons she's actually had 2 and 3 shows because she's the poster child for lesbianism. She came out and ruined that comedy sitcom she was on when she talked about she was a lesbian. So they reward her. So what happened is WNBC4 in New York at that time was the biggest broadcast TV station in America. So I came on and I was getting 5.8, 6.2s. And Ellen DeGeneres was on after me and she was getting 0.27, 0.14, 0.56. So it was an embarrassment. So they asked me to come on her show 2 times. Now I walked in there. And this heifer comes up with an attitude, where's your robes? I thought she was supposed to be a comedian, I said, well, I got it. Put it on. I said, it's 80 degrees up in here. And I said, I'm not putting this shit on. It's my, I said, well, I don't want to be here, fool. They asked me to come. So I'm starting to cop an attitude, but still trying to be a gentleman. So it's 80 damn degrees in there.
Catch your nose.
One of my cameramen.
Yeah.
So I saw one of my cameramen. And I said, what the hell's going on? And he said, Judge, this woman likes it 80 degrees, man. We sweat like pigs up in here. It's harsh. She's bad mouthing everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of sisters had come over with, well, not sisters, a couple of women had come over from my show. She's up there looking down there, bro. Baby, when you gonna let the girls come out? What the hell is this shit? She talked about everybody like dogs. She was nasty. She tried to get in my face. Didn't I tell you to put that robe on? It's 80 degrees. You tell me when I come out here. So he come out. So I put it on and then sat around and said, did I tell you? I said, you go to hell. I said, you witch. So I said, guys, let's go. Let's get the fuck out of here. I'm gone. Judge, come back. So they had called all the way from, Judge, please bear with us. We need you.
Yeah.
So I bore with him and I say, you a miserable ass heifer. And the first time she ever broke 1.0 was the 2 times I was on her show the next 2 days, but the ratings dropped right back to 0 to nothing, and they canceled the show. But 4 weeks after that, they gave her another one. Now, I used to live in a place called Ojai, California.
Mm-hmm.
I had a ranch about 75 miles outside of L.A.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I had a beautiful movie star quality wife, ex-wife now, who was very talented. And Ellen and her wife tried to hit on my wife to set up a lesbian threesome. My wife told them what they could do with themselves. But, you know, that's the way they roll. So they reward Ellen DeGeneres and they try to make her a superstar. But this chick has never been able to keep a show for a whole season. But they called her a star. But Judge Joe Brown, they tried to act like nobody had heard of me.
Mm-hmm.
So the ratings went down. They say, yeah, everybody's did because they had new media coming up. So Judy's went down, Oprah's went down, Phil's went down, but I was still beating Phil, still beating Oprah and stepping on Judy's heels. So they come up with me asking me to take an IOU for $28 million from CBS, talking about everybody's taking a hit. And I say, you lying dogs, because I bought some shares of stock in CBS, which I've sold since. But the bottom line is that when you get these shares of stock, you get the stockholders newsletter. And if you ever get to working with a company, do that so you can see what's going on. So they're saying I'm the most profitable operation CBS has through its syndication department in all of CBS because I had such massive ratings and the type of people that wanted to advertise on my show sold Maybachs, Mercedes, BMWs, and stuff like that, Cadillacs, Lincolns, and so forth. So there was a lot of revenue coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And I had very little overhead, and the way I did it streamlined the production process. So they're bragging about it, and they said everybody, they designated who everybody was who got a raise. So I'm looking at these fools taking about everybody got a hit, and they're lying to me. I said, you're a lying dog. I said, this is what you got. They just give you a raise January 17th. This is what you got.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how'd you know that? I should have found it out. Plus, you're also doing something that FTC, Federal Trade Commission, would have your ass doing 10 years in jail for insider trading. You've been manipulating this stock. Just like announcing that the dividend is going to drop from 27 cents down to a nickel. So the stock price, this actually happened, dropped from $68 a share down to $32 a share. These executives had a plan with CBS so they would loan them the money that could be paid back within 6 months interest free.
Mm-hmm.
So they bought up all of the stock that they could. CBS bought up $280-some million of its own stock at $32 a share, which, as per the intention, had dropped from 68 to 32 because of the announcement the dividend would be cut to a nickel. Well, as soon as they bought this huge load of stock, it jumped up to $64 a share, and everybody dumped their shares. So they got the equivalent of